speaking of paying attention, changes in college football. They've approved a new playoff format for the next 2 seasons. John, you and I love college football. Love an excuse to talk about it. The model will be 5 plus 7, 5 conference champions plus 7 at large, the new 12-team playoff. The 5 conference champions will all be in, and the top 4 conference champions will be seeds 1 through 4. So you have to win your conference championship to be one of the top 4 seeds.
Yep.
Look good?
Which, yeah, I think it's actually beautiful. The side benefit is the fact that Notre Dame will never be in the top 4. Never. You have to, 4 highest-ranked conference champs get a bye, in which will never, until they decide that, I guess we're not as good as we think we are. I'll join a conference. They'll never have that opportunity. Now, they may host a game in South Bend because the next 4, 5 through 7, 8, are going to host. Sorry. Are we counting the 5?
I didn't even catch it for a second. You're good.
5 through 8 are going to host on campus, obviously 9 through 12, which I think is going to be so much fun. Yeah. That is one of the things that I am most excited about in regards to this 12-team playoff. But they've only done this for 2 years.
Yeah, because beyond that, they could tweak it. And some of the challenges, 5 conference champs, well, there's really only 4 power conferences now, right, with the Pac-12 disbanding. So you'll have SEC and Big Ten and ACC and Big 12. Their champs will be represented every year. And then who is the 5th? I guess they build in some room for an undefeated group of 5 or in this new hybrid West Coast conference, a Washington State or an Oregon that runs the table. There's some flexibility. I like the 5 plus 7. I don't think I would really make a change here. Am I missing something?
No. So prior to this, it was thought that it was going to be, well, before the dissolution of the Pac-12, it was going to be the Power 5, and then it was going to be a group of 5, the highest ranked group of 5, which last year, correct me if I'm wrong, would have been Liberty.
Yes.
And they would have been in at 12 because they weren't in the top 12. They weren't ranked in the top 12. So they would have been 12. And Oklahoma, who ended up being 12, would have not had a seat at the table. But if this format was in place last year, now this is I think, interesting to where this would go because it is not group of 5. It's just simply the highest ranked the 5 highest ranked conference champs.
Yes.
So last year it would have been all of the Power 5. The top 4 would not have changed. It would have been Michigan, Washington, Texas, Alabama.
Yep.
And then the 5th one would have obviously been Florida State.
Correct.
And they would have ended up at 5. Now that 5th one doesn't have to be ranked at 5. They just have to be part of it, and then they will be ranked as such. But they were the only team, Florida State would have been the only team outside the Big Ten or the ACC to have a seat at the table. Because all of Washington was, in the Pac-12, and, Oklahoma, Texas, they were in the Big 12, but now they're going to be in the SEC. So obviously the 5 conferences will create some diversity, but this is going to be populated by the Big Ten and the SEC.
You're saying from the at-large group.
Yeah. And so you're going to have 2 automatic bids. Then you'll have 3 other automatic bids. Everybody else probably is going to be a Big Ten or AC or SEC team.
Well, and we get to the conversation now where everybody goes, well, why do you keep expanding? And people are going to be fighting about who's 12 or 12 versus 13. I won't have any sympathy for the team that finishes 3rd in the SEC or 3rd in the Big Ten or 4th and gets left out.
Now, 3rd in the Big Ten is going to get in.
Most years, yes.
Most years, and 4 teams.
But my point is, I won't feel bad.
I
don't feel bad for a team that didn't win their conference. If you end up in this group of at-large and our resume, and we'll always have some infighting, but I think it's a better version of the sport where we just say, hey, if you won your conference, you're in for the most part. I mean, unless you're a smaller school and then you have to be undefeated or you have to have a worthy resume. This feels like the best way to do it, and I might be missing something, but this is what they unveiled. Only 2 years they may be still evaluating to see, does it end up being where it is basically all Big Ten and SEC teams cramming in as the at-large spots, or is there room for others? 248-539-9797. The other question then becomes expectations. Like a place like Michigan, the expectation is to make this 12-teamer every year. All you have to do is finish top 3 in your conference to get in, right?
Top 3 Yeah, and sometimes top 4.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going to be looking at, now let's just do the math on this real quick. If this is the expectation is to be in the college football playoffs, you're only going to have 3 automatic bids that are not SEC or ACC. So that leaves 9 teams. You get your 2 bids and then the other 7. So in most years, you're going to have at a minimum, a very minimum, 3 teams out of the SEC and the the Big Ten. I don't know why I keep saying the ACC. SEC and the Big Ten. But most times, you're going to have 4 or 5 out of those conferences.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you're going to get 5 from the SEC or the Big Ten.
Okay, let's look at the Big 12.
Because now we are really watering down the regular
12,
season.
other than the champ.
Well, the runner-up is probably in the conversation, too. They're probably a 10-11 win team. Do I need a 5th 9-win team from the Big Ten, like 4th 9-win team from the Big Ten? And you play your schedule.
This is what you're going to
get. If you lose 3 or 4 games, bye. I don't need to see you.
I understand that, but that's not what's going to happen. It goes to marketing. It goes to the teams that people actually want to see, and it is going to be teams that are in the Big Ten and the SEC.
So then there really is no excuse for Michigan if you're going to get in on 9-3 every year. There's no excuse.
No, I mean, and so that's why you kind of go through if this were in place last year, what teams would have been in, and 11 of them were SEC or Big Ten teams currently going to be in the SEC or Big Ten.
Yeah. Now you wouldn't. Yes, without overcomplicating it. Yes. Let me ask you the question about Michigan this year. Then, you think they get in?
I think they should, yeah.
Even with all the losses. You lose arguably the best running back, quarterback in
we
program
haven't played
history.
the game yet, so we're not sure about all of the losses. Or you're talking about just the players?
Personnel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No.
I thought you were giving us 5 losses already.
Going, all right, Texas, L. Oregon, L. USC.
Yeah, and they may be. If that's the case, then no, they don't belong.
As you say, but I just mean there's a lot of turnover at Michigan going into this season. You lose a head coach and 5 assistants.
In that drop.
Let's try that again.
Sounds like I have a head cold. It seems.
Maybe you did have a head cold.
Oh, maybe it was remote. Maybe. Could have been. I don't know. But that sounds more like me. Yeah. Those I work with. When you think about putting together the college football playoffs, and you think about, in terms of Michigan, if there's going to be 4 teams from the Big Ten that get into, then the expectation is that you are in the college football playoffs every year. And I've even heard, now this is the rumor that's going around. I don't know what the current contract is for 12 teams, but with the power that the SEC and the Big Ten will wield in the coming years, and if expansion continues, if the SEC adds a couple of more teams to get up to 18 like the Big Ten will be, then all of a sudden you're looking at not just the conference champ automatic bids, but getting automatic bids just because you're the SEC or the Big Ten. So that do they each get 3 automatic bids? And if that's the case, then certainly.
Well, they won't be automatic, but they would de facto.
Expectations would be to get in.
Well, they'd be de facto automatic bids, right? I mean, it wouldn't be promised before the year if you finish 3rd, you're in. It would just be obvious that the third best team is going to get in.
We're going down a road where the SEC and the Big Ten, especially with this new collaboration, whatever they're calling it.
You think they're going to call for out-and-out locks for teams that finish 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah.
I think it would play out that way anyway because of the perception of the teams and the conferences they play in and the head-to-head matchups. Like, people have said it's going to water down the regular season. Yeah, to a degree, but I'm going to get Michigan, Texas, and Michigan, Oregon, and Michigan, Washington, and Michigan, USC. I'm going to get bigger games every week. And while you can lose a couple, you can't lose them all. I mean, you do risk missing if you lose them all. And there's something worth playing for because if you do win the Big Ten, it's not some trophy that just gets collecting dust. It actually vaults you into a top 4 seeding. It's worth it.
Well, that's why they want to make the top 4 worth it, because they don't want to lose the value of that championship game. So if you're, I mean, let's just say you're 12-0 going into the championship game, and you're playing against the number 2 team in your conference, and they are 11-1. Now all of a sudden, why would you want to risk injury? Well, all of these things, people talk about meaningless games.
You have to
Can you
incentivize
imagine that conversation of a championship game being a meaningless game because both teams are already in the college football playoffs? Now that 11-1 team, if they are able to beat that undefeated, behemoth, now all of a sudden they get the bye, the automatic bid, and they don't have to play. I mean, if it's an SEC team, they wouldn't have the risk of having to come north to play a Big Ten team.
248-539-9797. The format is out at least for 2 years. 5 plus 7, 5 conference champions, 7 at large for college football's 12-team playoff.